Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Choice of Rebels. I had some sort of strange thing where it seemed like it started us back over at the point where we were breaking camp and we had met Zvad and everything. So maybe it was giving us another chance to decide who was going to be our leader. I'm assuming that the thurges that were attacking us at the end of the last video didn't get anything. Maybe, I don't know if it got into some weird loop in the game or something. But we were on week 5 in the last video when it ended. And so now it says we're on week 6 of the winter. So I'm a little bit frustrated that we didn't see what happened there. So I don't really know, but this is week 6 and so I had to make several decisions to get us back to this point, but it seemed like we were just going through stuff that we had already done. And so I was actually really worried that it had messed us up, you know. But then I saw like the loot and the wealth and the arms and everything. So maybe they took back our mules? I don't understand. I don't understand what happened to our mules. Maybe we'll find out in a little bit. We'll see. All right, let's get reading and see what happens. The 6th week of winter opens with another shattering storm and the arrival of 3 babies. 10 of your rebels were pregnant when they left Rim Square. The first 2 came to their birthing this week. One of them had guessed rightly that she was carrying twins. Thankfully, you were able to reach a warren of caves before the worst of the winter arrived. You've got a decent fire going in the back of the main cavern, trusting in the clouds and lashing rain to hide any smoke. There's enough of a wet wind to keep you from properly drying out, but at least you can warm up and eat a blessedly hot meal. Tirek commandeered another, less exposed cave for the berths. After you've all supped, you see a flicker of lamplight, and Leyland emerges from the lower cave. She's leaning heavily on her sister, but smiling, especially at the scrap of a babe drowsing in a sling around her neck. Her 5-year-old son scrambles away from the rest of the children with a whoop, and wraps his arms around Leyland's knees. Chorus and her twins are well, she declares to General rejoicing. Won't be ready to move till tomorrow at earliest, and Tirek says he'd be happier for them if we could camp here all week, but they're all still with us. Glad to hear it. You walk over to them. Should you be taking a bit more rest? I'm 26 years old, Captain Leyland chuckles indulgently. Done this 4 times before. Just let me step outside to wash off and then give me some whatever I smell in that fire before it gets cold. She holds out the sleeping babe to you and you gingerly take him. I find it hard to stop smiling. The first of a free generation, a rebel generation. This means hope. A pang of emotion breaks my numbness for the first time in a long time. I'm just glad they're all alive and well. This usually sometimes means hope. Let's smile. What's his name? Callen has a good sound to it, I reckon. Leyland smiles steadily at you. Well, angels help him, you mutter, and as the cavern erupts with cheers. I must be pretty well liked. That's exactly how I felt just now. So, pride warms you better than a bonfire. If you're admired enough to be a namesake, you must be doing something right. Welcome, little Callen, you call, holding the babe up. A cheer goes round the cavern, and let no one ever call him Helot. He's freeborn, to a free woman among free folk. May he come of age in a world where no one questions it, where no one ever dreams of putting a yoke round his neck. For a few delirious moments, the roar of your band's voices drown out the storm. At the start of week 6, when you send out the barley run, the band has around 10 bushels of grain in stock. You'll need to get that up to 43 bushels before the end of the week if everyone's to eat at the rations you've set. Your total wealth is 98 silver drachms and a loot worth 1747 more. That's more than enough for your needs. With that many drachms, you could buy up to 115 bushels. Let's see. We have 10 in stock. I need 43 before the end of the week. So let's buy 43. And then we'll get the rest through other means, I guess. You know what? Let's buy 45. Carrying back 45 bushels will require all your 2 free pack animals and 52 outlaws. You worry that a group so large would have near certainty of being spotted either by enemy scouts in the woods or airborne thurges. So I'd such that you probably carry back 23 bushels safely, or up to 31 if you reallocated all the mules from the sick tents to the convoy. Every mule or person you add to that captain will boost the risk of being caught, and angels know we can't afford to lose a grain run. Oh gosh, what happened to all our mules? Did they take the mules last time? Because we had like 11, I thought. Let's reallocate some from the sick tents. With 2 mules now joining the grain run, you order 31 bushels will require your 4 free pack animals and 18 outlaws. They trudge off into the trees. You hope you'll see them again by Pyre Day. You've got 148 healthy adult bandits to commit this week. Assuming your grain run makes it back, they'll still need to bring at least 1 more bushel of barley if you're to meet the rations you've set for the band. Terra informs you that the 33 followers in his care would need at least 7 or 8 mules if they're to move quickly in a crisis. I know it. Before all else, Captain, we need to bring enough food for the week's rations. Actual food, not just silver or loot. Breeden stares across the woods in the direction of the room. There are barns out there, or if we raided one of the market towns it would take more planning, but they'd have plenty of grain there as well as silver. She shrugs. We need more mules. We have something, don't we? We have people out there, but I don't know. Let's send Breeden again, because I remember she tried it one time, but we've been moved to a different area. When your deputy turns, she's wearing a broad smile, leading 2 mules with some barley on their backs. They took some talking, Captain, but there's folk out there angry against Hegemony for all kinds of reasons, so when you find the right one, they can be a lot more persuadable. She leads the animals away. As long as she brings us mules, she deserves to be cheered. See, we've already done that, which frustrates me. We've already seen that. But again, I mean, maybe I'm asking too much of the game. I don't know. Let the other outlaws give credit where credit's due. If it strengthens Breeden's position, your band needs all the strong leaders it can get. Alright, we want to find somewhere where we can... You dispatch scouts to sneak through the Shayard Rim looking for opportunities for a raid. You expect they'll be gone at least 2 weeks. Find anything, we'll get the best results if we send people out in 2s and 3s. Larger groups will cover less ground but more at risk. 3s and 4s. A mere pair of rebels might be too much temptation for some yeomen imagining a bounty on their bodies. And it means we can have at least 1 windward bandit in every small group. You've not yet had time to seek out the traitor in your midst. If your fellow Rim Square rebels are free to roam at will, they'd also be free to pass information to the Hegemony. Breeden nods at once. While you await the scout's return, are there any other ways you want to try acquiring mules? Nope. They don't give us money. Let's set crippling. We've got 132 healthy adult bandits left to commit. Let's set traps. We're sending 30 people for traps. We're sending 32 people for traps to get to an even 100. You're particularly concerned to make approach on horseback impossible. Wherever there are broad gaps in the undergrowth, you have your outlaws fill them with brush and sharpened stakes. The children from your town lend enthusiastic hand. You've got 100 healthy adults. Let's hunt for game. And let's send 50 people for that. To get a bunch more food. They scoured the bit of the wild you're moving through. On average, each managed to bring back around 5 rabbits. Golly, that's 250. It should save your food stores around 13 bushels of barley, and the hide should fetch 30 drachms. Nice. Let's raid a grain barn. Most folk across the Shayard Rim have some barley stored away from the winter. The biggest stocks are generally held by grand estate holders with their own grain supply in a personal barn and their helot supply in a larger, shoddier building. But your determination to raid only the forces of Karagon Hegemony prevents you from stealing from the noble houses, let alone helotry or yeoman farms. That leaves you to consider the tithe barns of the ecclesiast. At barning day, a share of the barley harvest is due to a village. See, something is broken, because it's told us this before. But again, maybe not. To provide, maybe this is just the second time we've done this, and it tells us this every time. In practice, much of it is sold down the river, funding more temple building and generous priestly incomes. Much of the rest goes defeating the local Alistair garrisons, who accordingly guard their tithe barn closely. We would have to raid a tithe for 30 bandits. Some of your followers will have qualms about stealing from the priests. They don't love the ecclesiast, but many of them miss the diakons, low-level priests who carry out angel sacraments of compassion in helot camps, and they dread Thanos and its implacable retribution. We reckon the angels understand what forced us into the woods, the grizzled bandit mumbles, but we don't think they pulled their hand back from us. If we go robbing temples, well, they might decide it's not worth bringing us anymore. We've read this. The tithe barn you know best, ecclesiast its great storehouse around Squirrel, will be thick with Alistairs and Thurges, too many for your band to handle. You are aware of the other village barn in the reach where winter wilderness. Though you probably got enough bushels stored there to load 40 mules, your mules will only be able to carry away a fraction of the grain. It's a shame you don't have any uncommitted mules this week, but your outlaws can carry back enough to feed themselves. At least, do you want to send one of the band's better commanders to lead the fight against the barn's Alistair guards? I'll lead the raid in person. This is for you, John Holt, leading the raid in person. It takes you 2.5 days to reach the tithe barn and the village you once walked to as a child when another Carriatu helot was sent there on an errand. You skulk in the woods until sunset, then begin the last 3 hours' march through the fields and orchards. There are enough gaps in the clouds this evening that even when the last daylight is gone, none of you should break your legs. Once or twice you see a silhouetted face appear in a lamplit farmhouse window, then the shutters close, often with some haste. Any farmers who realized there were bandits on the move clearly didn't send a warning on ahead. When you arrive, you find only 6 drowsy Alistairs on guard. The square around the tithe barn is unlit, and your outlaws are able to creep into ambush position unseen. The shower of sling stones take the barn guards completely by surprise. All 6 are dead within moments, while your formation around the Alistair barracks picks off most of the others as they rush out the door. You hear the screams from inside. 100 bandits out there, 100 or more. Fly to Rimmersford, bring them the news. The handful of survivors scramble out the back windows of the barracks and make for the road, with your sling-wielding outlaws speeding their way. You have taken the tithe barn without losing a single follower. Nice. You lean on your staff and blink for a moment at the final enemy you struck down. For all the hours you put into sparring, this is the first time you've actually killed another human being. But it's not. It's not the first time, because I killed that guy. That one time. The convulsion before dying, that look of realization. Ah, angels. I don't know what that means. Just like me, just like me. Yes, that's what I did last time. And even in a village a fraction of the size of Rim Square, the tithe barn is a cavernous building. It's piled high with bins of barley. Let's leave it. As you leave, the village ecclesiast runs out into the moonlit square, frantically waving her arms. By Zanos, as you value your souls, desist. The grain was given in the name of the angels by Zanos, the sacred law. Damned be the soul who touches it without leave. You stare incredulously at the long-haired, bright-eyed priest, who you'd guess is only a few years older than you. Give her credit for courage. The Alistair corpses strewn around the village seem barely to have fazed her at all. Your own blood-stained bandits fall back before her. Some drop barley sacks to the ground as if they had suddenly become red-hot. Grant us leave to take it, then. The priest showers you with invective until you interrupt her. The tithe is claimed in the name of the poor ecclesiast, those most in need of compassion. Tell us the truth now. How much of it was eaten by these? You jab your staff at the fallen Alistairs. Where in the codex does it say? Oh, will you now teach me canon, blasphemer? The young priest interrupts scornfully. Her voice trembles only a bit, and for all you can tell, it might be from pure conviction rather than for fear of death. Will you speak on behalf of the angels? May Thanos damn you for your vile presumption, and all who follow you. When it becomes clear that nothing you say is going to stop her harangue, some of your less devout bandits tie and gag her, but the rest go about their work with a haunted expression that does not recede all the long, weary way home. 3 days' hard march later, you bring back 21 bushels of grain, as well as 6 forged weapons from fallen Alistairs. For the first time, your Rim Square rebels have weapons of forged steel. Not the first time. Not just clubs, knives, and sharpened staves. If you can get them the proper training, they might have actually stand up to an armored phalangite swordsman. Even with the training, you see a new glint in their eyes, the self-belief that wasn't there before. Do you want to send scouts to look for another tithe barn to raid? Yes. You send out 10 scouts to range across the northern and outer rim and search for another vulnerable tithe barn. We've got 10 healthy bandits left. Let's scout for more opportunities to raid. Let's look for more temples. Despite your followers' qualms, you're determined to target the Ecclesiast. You send 10 scouts back into the rim, looking for temples which are close enough to be reachable, prosperous enough to be worth the risk of raid, and not too well guarded. You put all your healthy bandits to use. At the end of the week draws near, you and Breeden account for the 35 scouts on multi-week missions. 10 are looking for a tithe barn, 10 are hunting for temples and monasteries, 15 are looking for mules. By the end of the week, 7 more bandits are too ill to leave the camp. Your 6 bandits are languishing. And 1 has died. Another 5 children have fallen ill, and 2 of the 6 children did not survive the week. With your healthy outlaws living on 3/4 rations, I'm going to have the same as everyone else. Your gesture of solidarity is taken for granted. Nearly everyone in the band. The coming week, 7 of your healthy bandits will be needed in the camp to care for the sick and dying. When all is said and done, you now have 353 followers. Morale is poor, not utterly dismal, so that's pretty good. Week 7, so the Bloody Carry 2 are still going to be Aristarchs of the Outer Rim. You and Breeden have forged ahead of the rest of the band to discuss reports from your scouts, even though a rebellion started in the district seat. That's the word in the towns, your deputy confirms, pushing through a wet, leafy tangle to join you on the ridge. They say that after a revolt, a day hadn't passed before a young curious Hector was on a fast horse to Grand Shayard. He must have explained things to Archon's satisfaction. You stare out across the next valley, looking for the craggy outcrop where you plan to camp. What's it going to take to dislodge old curious Stylos? Lady Pelamatu must be disappointed. If the spies have heard true, she's consoling herself with this new Alistair captain, the Caragond one. Tychon? Or Tygon, the one who marches up and down talking about how he'll soon have all our heads on pikes. The very fellow. Breeden nods wryly. Maybe she thinks if she can contribute to Captain Tychon's head piking, the Archon will reconsider. But for now, we're still facing my old masters. The thought puts knots in your stomach. The dread of the Carrier too was ground into you from birth. Won't die quickly. At the start of week 7, when you send out the barley run, the band has around 35 bushels of grain in stock. You'll need to get that to 42 bushels before the end of the week if everyone's to eat at the rations you set. Your total wealth is 131 silver drachms and a loot of 1281 more. That's more than enough for your needs. With that many drachms, you could buy up to 88 bushels. How many bushels do you actually want to buy from the fences this week? 30. We have 35. We want to get it to 42. What if we bought 15? Carrying back 15 bushels will require a convoy of 3 pack animals and 3 outlaws. They trudge off into the trees. You just hope you'll see them again by Pyre Day. You've got 114 healthy adult bandits to commit this week. Your stores of 35 bushels plus 15 you've ordered are enough for the band's appointed rations, opening up other possibilities for deploying your band. Terra informs you that 42 followers in his care will need at least 10 or 11 mules. Gotcha. So, we want mules. At the moment, the band's 6 mules, 0 are reserved for the sick. Change that to a total of not 20. We'll do 3 because we have 3 on a barley run. Okay. What about rations? Change the rations. A healthy diet for all sick outlaws and a subsistence diet for all healthy ones. See, because we changed that last time and it didn't stick. A healthy diet for all sick outlaws and a subsistence diet for all healthy ones. Aye, Captain. The sick should recover on that, and the healthy, well, they'll get by until we can bring in better. He concentrates in silence for a few moments. That means we'll need a total of 53 bushels of barley to feed everyone. We'll bring it in, you promise. Okay. 4 more bushels of barley. Okay, let's hunt for game. 114 healthy adult bandits. Let's send 30 hunting. They bring back 4 rabbits and other small game animals. Per person, it should save your food stores around 6 bushels. Perfect. Gotcha. Perfect. Now let's see if we can't get more mules. Let's try to convince him again. We want to send breeding. She's looking weary. Got a young mule from a freehold captain. Got a spot of barley, but it's getting harder to find the right people. That's okay. Another mule. One more down. We've never sabotaged the harrowers in nearby towns. I think we should set more traps though. So yeah. Let's set more traps. We have 83. Let's let 23 set traps. Cool. Why don't we sabotage the harrowers? We've never tried that before. But it just doesn't seem to help us very much. Let's try it though. 3 towns within 2 days' travel of the Windward Hills are large enough to have their own harrower in the market square. Throughout the Karagon hegemony, harrowers are generally protected by nothing more than oil canvas and the promise of retaliation. According to the Ecclesiast, any offense against the blessed instruments of sacrifice will be punished by divine Adonis itself. You've all heard the reports of towns consumed by flames or swallowed up by the earth after a harrower was found sabotaged. So while it would be easy for your outlaws to sneak in and wreck the unguarded machines, it's almost certain to trigger horrible thurgic reprisals against the 3 towns, especially their helot populations. Even if you're willing to accept that consequence, you wonder whether it's more likely to turn the surviving townsfolk against the hegemony or against you, especially when the punishments are painted as Donic vengeance. No, we will look at different raids. That sounds a little bit rough. So let's hunt for a bear. We've got 60 people. Let's send 30 bear hunting. Your hunters will return exultantly, carrying a field-dressed bear on their shoulders. The meat is pungent, oily, and gristly, but it will feed as many of you as 10 or 11 bushels of barley, and the bear hide should fetch 18 drachms from your fence. Nice. And let's see if we can't smuggle. The merchants who visit Rim Square used to complain. Yet to your great surprise, almost no smuggling goes on through this unpatrolled, but we've already done this. Let's ask Vod to introduce me to Elaine Laybridge. The merchant Elaine's stockade is by far the largest structure in the tiny crossroads hamlet of Laybridge. Its yard is stacked high with local timber and bookended by warehouses filled with grain sacks, cider barrels, and trade goods from further afield. Nearish spices, Ariston oils, and silks, Karagon steel, and linens, you and Zavad avoid the well-guarded compound and head instead to Elaine's cottage on the outskirts of the village. She seems unsurprised to find you waiting in the evening shadows outside her door. Zvad, why do you people never visit at a more sociable hour? Come in before you freeze. There's no need for skullduggery. We've not seen any Alistairs through here in days. Once you're standing in front of the merchant's hearth, sharing a flagon of scalding cider, Zvad gestures at you. You'll have guessed that this is Captain Callen Oakfell. Your reputation precedes you, Captain, Elaine says, eyes glinting. She is a small woman with a prominent, slender chin and unusually pale skin. You'd guess she's part Nair with one parent from the Hegemony's northernmost province. I hear you chose some dewy, inexperienced girl as the deputy of the band, but because she hasn't yet found the time to pay a visit, I can't say for sure. I used to see Zvad every month. I know him. I trust him. But since the Windward outlaws were taken over by children playing at rebellion, I've been visited only by clumsy young helots who openly covet my wares and scowl at me like I'm their next target. What am I supposed to make of that? Strong emotion rarely registers on Zvod's face. You've never seen him so appalled as he is at this moment. Curia, Elaine. You raise a hand to forestall him and apologize to Elaine. You manage to swallow the defensive rejoinders that leap to mind. I apologize, Curia. I have not given our relations the priority they deserve, and I've set my deputy Breed into other tasks. The fault is mine. Indeed, Captain? Elaine settles back and regards you with a skeptical eye. You lean forward. Help me understand, Curia Elaine. There's far more profit in smuggling than in selling outlaws' wares. Why don't you local merchants seize the chance? Why don't local merchants seize the chance? Smuggling is a bigger game than most merchants can play, Captain. Elaine laughs. The Thaumatarch himself cares intimately about trade, and the Traders Guild imposes his law more effectively than any Alistair. But we're close to the border that sees almost no Alistair patrols. The Thaumatarch can't punish what he doesn't see. The Guild of Shayard wouldn't have more to gain by breaching the law. If they're so willingly law-abiding, Curia, how do they look on our current arrangement? Let's ask about the current arrangement. Elaine glazes you expressionless through the steam of oversight. They don't inquire into the details of everyone I trade with, Captain. And there's nothing in what you send them to arouse interest. You raise an incredulous eyebrow. Curia Elaine, we look to you to trade the more unique and valuable items that fall into our hands. The guild folk you sell those to, they've never asked after the source. After a moment's silence, the merchant laughs. They know it's in their best interest not to ask. If I tried to sell them any Windish goods without a trade bill, their necks, not just mine, would be at stake. Then they'd become much more inquisitive. And yes, before you ask, a sufficiently valuable cargo might yet quiet their curiosity, but the reward would need to be large enough to justify the far larger risk. So if you imagine smuggling, imagine an agreement between a guildmaster and an Alistair captain to escort a whole caravan tariff-free over a major pass, not a local trader sneaking a few mules over the windward. And the guildmasters wouldn't make a similar bargain with an outlaw leader? Never, Elaine says flatly. Not a bandit who steals from merchants or from our noble clientele. From the guild perspective, you're bad for business, Captain. You try to conceal your disappointment. This is an unusually brutal winter, Curia, and it's hard to be discriminating when you're on the verge of starvation. The kind of cross-border arrangement we're proposing would make it far easier for us. I'm sorry, Captain, Elaine Ladebridge says, a note of finality in her voice. Personally, I look forward to many more years of collaborating with your band, but I don't think you'll be able to interest the guildmasters in anything more risky. You get the frustrated feeling that if Zvad were your second in command, or if you had either more charisma or a better knowledge of the Traders Guild, you might be able to find some way to make this work. As it is, you can do little but thank Elaine for her hospitality. And leave. Alright, 30 healthy bandits. Let's send them. Let's send to the Helot camps. Let's send 15. We'll send Ellery as well. You're not just an ordinary band of outlaws, but the first spark in rebellion. The Helots listen eagerly to hear some of the grumble, but they're brave lords like before. But the more of them are keen to help, a few of them run away to join your band. That's all we can do this week. Okay, thank you so much for watching this video. We had to finish it up here. I really appreciate you watching. Thank you guys, the ones who've been commenting, asking me to keep going. I promise I will keep doing it, and we will make it to the end of the story. And hopefully this loop that we got caught in a little bit will work itself out. So please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. I love you very much.